Hello, my name is Lap Siu. I'm a member of the Jarai ethnic group and a researcher of Montagnard cultures. I created this channel to share Indigenous perspectives, particularly from the Central Highlands of Vietnam. Today, I would like to speak with you about my people, who we are, where we live, our language, and cultural systems. I hope this instruction offers you insight into one of Vietnam's largest indigenous highlands communities. So let's dive in. The Jarai people primarily inhabit the Central Highlands of Vietnam, specifically the provinces of Gia Lai, Kon Tum, and parts of Dak Lak. Based on the 2019 census, there are over 500,000 Jarai people in Vietnam. We make up one of the largest indigenous groups in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. Also, there are about over 26,000 Jarai residing in Ratanakiri province in northeastern Cambodia. You might be wondering why the majority of the Jarai people lived in Vietnam while a smaller group resides in Cambodia. Well, the answer lies in our shared history. The Jarai are indigenous to both regions, what is now known as Vietnam's Central Highlands and northeastern Cambodia. Long before modern national boundaries existed, our ancestors lived throughout the upland areas that today include Gia Lai, Kon Tum, Dak Lak, and Ratanakiri provinces. These lands were part of our traditional territory, not separated by lines on a map that you see today. But when Vietnam and Cambodia became distinct nations, the borders were drawn through our ancestral homeland. So as a result, the Jarai people were divided across two countries, but we still share the same language, have cultural and kinship ties. Again, that's why today some of us live in Cambodia and others in Vietnam. I hope this gives you a clearer picture. In recent decades, due to conflict and displacement, especially during and after the Vietnam War, some Jarai have settled in the United States, Canada, Finland, and elsewhere around the world. Diaspora communities face many challenges, but we also continue the work of cultural preservation, teaching language, documenting traditions, and passing on knowledge to the next generation. The Jarai language is part of the Chamic subgroup of the Malayo-Polynesian branch of the Austronesian language family. This places us in a linguistic network that includes the Cham, Rade, Jru, Roglai, and Haroi, as well as more distant relatives across the islands of Southeast Asia and the Pacific. By the way, Jarai is not a tonal language, which distinguishes it from Vietnamese, which is the national language of Vietnam. It was traditionally oral, passed down through songs, myths, and ceremonial speech. Today, it is also written using Latin-based script developed in the 1920s. Oh, here is something you might not know. While the Jarai in Vietnam have a well-established writing system based on the Roman-based alphabet, the Jarai in Cambodia only had their writing system developed just over 10 years ago. It was created by missionaries, NGOs, and Jarai speakers in Ratanakiri province. According to my linguist friend, Dr. Josh Jensen, and his Jarai translators who are translating the Bible into the Cambodian Jarai, the Cambodian Ministry of Education approved this script about 2 years ago. Today, in 2025, Jarai children in Cambodia are allowed to learn to read and write the language using Khmer script in first and second grade, a few elementary schools in several villages began teaching Jarai to young students for the first time. The hope is that since many Jarai children in Cambodia are already familiar with the Khmer script, it will make learning to read and write in Jarai easier. Interestingly, a number of Jarai, especially Christians in Cambodia, prefer to use Bible translations written in Roman-based script developed for Jarai speakers in Vietnam. While some support the use of the newly created Khmer-based script, others opposed it. I hope you found this information both educational and interesting. You know, preserving our language is incredibly important, especially as younger generations face growing pressure to assimilate into dominant cultures in both Vietnam and Cambodia. Language is not just a tool for communication. It holds our identity, our knowledge systems, and the stories of our ancestors. That's why this work matters, and that's why I am sharing this with you. Jarai Society is based on matrilineal, meaning inheritance, lineage, and family names pass through the mother's line. After marriage, the husband traditionally moves into the wife's household and children belong to mother's clan. Here's a personal example. After my brothers-in-law married my sisters, they left their parents' homes and moved into my parents' house. Another interesting thing, my last name is Siu, and I inherited from my mother, not my father. In Jarai culture, that's how lineage works because we follow a matrilineal system. But here's what makes it even more interesting. In our tradition, a last name isn't just a surname, it represents your clan. Everyone who shares the same clan name, like Siu, is considered part of the same extended family or lineage. And because of that, marriage within the same clan is strictly forbidden. Why? Well, because even if the relationship is distant, we are still seen as kin. This system strongly influences how people relate to each other, who owns property, and how important events like birth, marriage, and death are celebrated. It also gives women an important role as they are often at the center of both family life and traditional ceremonies. In Jarai culture, our traditional villages are usually small and close-knit, often made up of 50 to 500 people. The longhouses are built on stilts using bamboo or wood, and they are arranged in a square or circular pattern. Right in the middle of the village, we often have a communal house, which we call Sang Rong. It is an important space where the villagers gather for ceremonies or important meetings. We also have longhouses. Each longhouse is home to extended families. And because we follow a matrilineal system, the mother's side of the family lives together. By the way, when I was still a child, I used to live in one of those longhouses. Also, for a long time, our way of life has centered around subsistence farming. We grow rice, corn, and vegetables on small plots that we clear from the forest. And we also relied on hunting, fishing, and gathering wild foods to support our families. In recent years, some villages have started growing things like cassavas, coffee, sugarcane as cash crops. Even then, most of what we still need comes from what we produce ourselves or trade within the village. It's a lifestyle that's closely connected to the land and the changes in nature. Traditionally, the Jarai believed in animism, which means we believe that spirits live in nature. For example, people believe that spirits live in lakes, mountains, trees, animals, and even in certain people. We place great importance on honoring our ancestors and keeping a good balance between people and the spirit world. One of the most distinctive aspects of our culture is the funeral tradition, which includes the abandonment of the grave ceremony. After a person dies, the spirit is believed to linger in the village. The family maintains contact with the spirit through offerings and ritual until the final ceremony, which symbolically releases the spirit to the afterlife. During this ceremony, we construct beautifully carved grave houses, accompanied by wooden effigies and offerings. These practices reflect deep moral obligations to our ancestors and reaffirm the spiritual foundation of our kinship systems. Today, many Jarai people identify as Christians, while there are some Catholics. Most of them are evangelical Protestants. Christianity was mainly introduced during the Vietnam War by American missionaries, especially from the Christian and Missionary Alliance. The Bible was translated into the Jarai, which helped spread the faith. While traditional Jarai religion is based on animism, Christianity has become an important part of life in many Jarai communities around the world. For example, in the United States, there are usually multiple churches in each city where Jarai people live. The Jarai are one of the many rich indigenous cultures in Southeast Asia. As someone who belongs to this community and has also studied it, I believe our language, traditions, and ways of life have a lot to teach us. They're not just part of the past, they offer meaningful lessons about how to live more sustainably and stay connected to each other and the land. If you found this video informative, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share. By supporting this channel, you are helping to raise up indigenous voices and preserve the rich histories and cultures that are often forgotten. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.